The Greek actually says the unexamined life is not a life for the human being. For the human being.
I keep telling these dudes I'm
What's up, UTD? Welcome to semester 2, episode 4 of Down to Earth. The topic of this episode is going to be racism and discrimination. This is episode 4, Down to Earth. I'm here with the new upcoming organization, Philosophy, and we're going to be discussing racism.
Racism?
Does it still exist?
Yes.
Do you think racism still exists?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. I think there still is, yeah.
Are you asking because I'm black? What is this?
Yeah, definitely. I think, in everyday life you see examples of racism.
Racism definitely still exists. I've had it exhibited against myself personally. The past few years, I had a girl call me a half-breed. I'm actually half black, and that didn't go down so well for her.
Yes, but not as significantly as it does in the past. Obviously, we don't have slavery and those types of things, but it's difficult for different minority groups to get far in life. But I think it's a lot better than it was before.
Do you think racism still exists?
Yes.
How?
Well, it's just in our everyday society. I mean, you see people get treated differently based on the color of their skin or their ethnicity, and that's considered racism to me.
I mean, I think it's much in the same way they used to, just less vocal about it because it's not polite in society nowadays to be so vocal about it.
It makes us so uncomfortable to talk about it. How quick is it from when we hear things, when a person speaks about race, we're quickly able to say that's a racist remark. But yet, not go past that. For all of us who are academic students, like everything is on the table because we have to question it. We're not going to just be spoon-fed. We were supposed to challenge ourselves.
It's not as overt as it was during the civil rights movement. It's a little more subtle. It's more economic now than it was back then.
It's definitely still around, but it is around in much subtler forms.
Racism nowadays is definitely not as explicit as it's been in the past, like in the civil rights movement, but it still definitely exists.
I think a lot of the time it exists against, people have racism against themselves. It's like an inward thing. They don't like show it to everybody, but some people are just ashamed of what they look like because they have nappy hair because they're black or something, or black people, they just use the N-word back and forth between each other, and they don't realize that they're kind of demoralizing themselves by using that so frequently and then telling people they can't use it. That's a form of racism right there.
It's another way for which racism can be spread. You're not taught more about yourself. You're basically taught with somebody who thought that you were negative, who thought that you were not worthy of learning. You're learning what they told you should be told about yourself.
Especially being from Mexico, I hear a lot about people being like, immigrants come and take your jobs, they don't even pay taxes, they don't do any of that stuff. That's not true. It's true to some extent, but
Yeah, you pay taxes.
Yeah, I pay taxes.
Yeah.
So
This is so amazing. Because I'm an African American, why can't I just be a black man? Because he's a white man. How come I gotta remain anchored? Not that it's a problem with me being anchored if I have ever been there, but I've never seen the place. I'm an American. If you want to talk to me, you talk to me as an American first. I've never addressed anyone as a German American or an Irish American, or for that matter, even a Chinese American. I'd never called this man here a Jamaican American. So why am I an African American? These little simple and subtle labels shrewdly placed on certain individuals, and it is completely divisive. If we be of the same body and of the same country, then why must there be divisions amongst us?
The sun complements the moon. We were supposed to complement each other. This is the biggest organ we have. And the difference was in the way the sun kissed our skin.
Yes, sir. Members of the same body, but yet and still we act as kids in this stupid game of tug of war. exerting great effort to do nothing. And this is the problem. Herein lies the problem. So many distinctions, so many negative and hurtful labels that only continue the problem. And so how can we discontinue the problem? Let's first discontinue the division.
Oklahoma City, 9/11. We're all American for that little short amount of time, and then after that, it's back to status quo. Like, does it really have to be a catastrophic event for us to see each other as brothers and sisters? The reason we know that racism has been doctored is because we have words like Caucasian, we have words like black, we have words of this nature. But yet, for what we all believe, we the people of the United States of America. It didn't say we the black, it didn't say we the white, it didn't say we the Hispanics, we the Native Americans. It says we the people. Big bold letters. And that's even written by people who had slaves at that point. That even that intrinsic feeling of knowing what's right was there always. We were running from it. It makes no sense when you have people who can change the world, but yet you divide.
There have been times in history where people and cultures have come together and lived peacefully.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Arab conquest. Arab conquest, they went and conquered the modern world at that time, except for Europe. They attempted to go that far, but they went ahead and stopped because they felt that it was
their Creole blend that came out of
blend. Look at the religious cohesion that happened. Arab conquest come in, Muslim is dominant. When they take over a land, they don't conquer the land. They just install a governor and say, if you want to follow us, follow us. This is what we believe. And they follow. They saw the truth in that. But however, when they conquered someone of different religious beliefs, they didn't force them out. When they conquered the known Jewish world at the time, they didn't force them out. They let them keep their temple. They let them keep their faith, their beliefs, and they still lived there happily. When they went to the Greek Orthodox, they took over a few churches so that they could have a mosque for themselves. But other than that, they let the Greek Orthodox still have places of worship. There were points in history where peace was realized.
At the same time, you still have that competitive capitalist mentality that whoever works the hardest gets farther in life. So, I mean, that'll always be there. So just give everybody equal starting ground.
Capitalism has kept things the way they are. Our economic system has kept the poor where they are. It has kept the top tier of wealthy Americans very wealthy, and we have to completely demolish that system in order to come up with one that's going to allow for more egalitarian society. That's going to allow for a society in which racial barriers and economic barriers don't so eerily mirror each other.
Even on TV, it promotes it in a way, hidden, but it's always there.
I think it exists more in the form of comedy. That's not to say that we can't joke about those kinds of things all the time, but I think it's because we've been joking about them so much that we've become accustomed to not empathizing with people, because we joke about those kinds of people too much. We joke about a certain race so much that we almost justify it whenever we make fun of them. We justify ridiculing them, which again kind of separates us. It sets us apart. We kind of see ourselves as greater than or in the position to ridicule them just because we're not of their race or we're not of their circumstance.
You can always joke about something and then kind of put it out there and see what the response is, and then if it doesn't go well, you just kind of cover up with the joke,
I think that really applies to somewhere like UTD, because you have a lot of foreign students come in, and a lot of them have really thick, heavy accents, and because you heard a comedian have that same accent the other day, you suddenly think it's okay to mock their accent or make fun of them, and you don't know how hard it is for them. You can't really empathize with them because you don't know where they've been, you don't know what they've come through, and you kind of just see them as the butt of your jokes. And so you don't know what problems they have to go through, how many people have made fun of them.
You gotta realize that we're all human, just one race, human. And then we gotta have interracial babies so that there's no racism. Boom.
I just want to emphasize how important it is to be able to empathize with other people and know where they're coming from and know where they're feeling. And I feel that joking about other races and other people like that can, after so much of it, after so much time, can kind of make you feel like you're in the position to ridicule others. And it's really hard for anybody to say that they're in any kind of position to ridicule another human being, because we all come from the same, we all were born through the same way, kind of, and we all are gonna die through. Oh, okay, I'm gonna repeat that. It'd be really silly if someone thought that they were in the position to mock somebody else, because we were all born, with mothers, and we're all gonna die the same way. We're all human beings. So to think someone else is better than another simply on some kind of biological thing like race or color, it just has no basis. It makes no sense.
How could you hate yourself? That's like a dolphin hating another dolphin.
Do you think we can still change it?
Yeah, definitely. I think people have an impact whether or not they believe so or not. Your voice matters.
Certain people you can't really change. You can't change people's minds, but you can change society's view on different aspects of what's going on.
You can't really change people's mind like that. It depends on how they're brought up.
If you get to know someone, you realize that we're all the same. Everybody has feelings. Everybody, we're all equal.
Just by being open-minded, man.
I guess treat everybody the way you want to be treated. The golden rule.
I think the way to fix the problem of racism is to understand that just because people aren't walking with crutches or because they're not in a wheelchair doesn't mean they're not hurting inside. And you don't know what kind of life they lived and how much some kind of racist joke or racist comment will really affect them and hurt them, and how much they remember it for the rest of their lives.
Words are tools. However, if we don't use those tools wisely, we end up hurting and damaging the very systems that we live in. Instead of fixing everything, we just break it apart. Instead of using the wrench to tighten it up, we just throw a hammer to it. And it's ridiculous.
I was hoping that through this episode we could bring more awareness to the subtle kinds of racism that still exist, and kind of keep it in the back of our minds that joking too much about it or being exposed to too much jokes about it may allow us to get desensitized to making fun of others.
I keep telling these dudes I'm